Hi, I'm Michelle with the Garrett Public Library, and I'm going to be reading for you today from the book Chicken Soup for the Golden Soul. My first story is called Making the Rest the Best, and it starts with a quote from Helen Hayes, and she was age 73 when she gave the quote. The hardest years in life are those between 10 and 70. And the story begins, on May 21st, 1998, I commenced on an adventure I spent 70 years preparing for, my 8th decade. I looked forward to it with great gusto, and I can already tell I have good news for you. Life begins at 70. I thought being 60 was incredible, but being 70 is almost incomprehensible. Other people aged, but I simply did not believe it would ever happen to me. Many, many years ago, the very idea that I would ever reach 70 was as remote as the thought that the year 2000 would arrive. The inevitable has finally arrived, though. Now that I have reached 70, I can relax. People don't generally expect as much from me. When I was in my 60s, people expected me to retire to a rocking chair on the front porch of a condo, take it easy, and complain about all my aches and pains. They were always asking questions like, "Do you think you should be doing that at your age?" Or, "What are you going to do when you retire?" I never planned to retire at 60 or 62 or 65, even though people expected me to. Fortunately, I didn't feel guilty when failing to meet their expectations. Now that I'm 70, I still am doing all the fun things I enjoy, including playing tennis, climbing mountains, and flying airplanes. I am considering retirement, but nobody asks me about it anymore. Another benefit of being 70 is having lived long enough to accumulate more than a few gray hairs and smile lines. I go into this season of life with a rich reserve, and I'm not referring to my bank accounts. I'm referring to the reservoir of experiences I've gained. I fully intend to apply the lessons I've learned, first and foremost, to maintain a positive mental attitude. I also plan to keep an open mind to new ideas and to maintain a good sense of humor. Over the years, my gratitude has grown for the many people I've met along the way, family and friends, as well as thousands of acquaintances. Some I've crossed paths with I like very much, some I love. I wouldn't go so far as to say that I never met anyone I didn't like, but I am proud to say there were hardly any that I simply couldn't stand. I've always been accused of putting more on my plate than is possible for one human to handle. But my philosophy has always been to bite off more than I can chew and then promptly chew it. I have loved living this way. I'm realistic enough to know, however, that I will never be as vibrant as I was 20, 30, or 40 years ago. I am still in good health and capable of living a rich, full life, spiritually, emotionally, and mentally. But now, if I get carried away and promise to be 3 places at once, no one thinks badly of me. They just chalk it up to my being 70. Being 70 has other pleasant surprises. For example, everybody seems astonished that I'm still going strong. Some are amazed I can still walk without losing my balance and talk without forgetting what I'm saying. Since no one expects someone in their 70s to have perfectly good hearing, I can pretend I can't hear if I want. Once you reach 70, people offer to open restaurant doors, help you with your jacket, and save a place for you. If you're late, they know you'll arrive eventually. When you're over 70, you don't need an excuse. People are just glad you make it. During an evening's conversation, people don't rudely interrupt you as often. They tend to treat you with respect just for having lived so long. Being 70 is better than 60, and it's significantly better than being 50. When you're in your 50s, people hold you responsible for things over which you have very little control. The economy, social conditions, increasing crime, and the list goes on and on. Also, by the time you're 70, your kids are old enough to recognize that you did the best you could as a parent, and they no longer hold you responsible for their problems. I am grateful my grandkids have taught my kids that important truth. When you are 70, you are given more choices. You can act either young or old. If you act too young, people say you're going through your second childhood. If you act too old, they think you're getting senile and they just smother you with kindness. You do have to guard against people expecting that you have all this time and nothing to do with it. Convincing them otherwise is sometimes a challenge. I keep telling people how busy I am, how I have goals enough to keep me busy until I'm 100, but I still have to say a lot of no's. I have noticed that I've had to say fewer since I put up a poster in my company headquarters office saying, retired, gone fishing, hiking, golfing, flying, cycling, snorkeling, swimming, reading, napping, and smelling the roses. Meanwhile, have a nice day. Enjoy your work. I've been there and I've done that. Being 70 has reinforced a belief and a practice I have held tenaciously to all my life. I don't have to be overly concerned about pleasing others. I don't have to wear suits, starched shirts, or ties. I can wear tennis shoes, or no shoes for that matter. I can take a nap whenever I feel like it. I'm only sorry that I didn't start sooner. After all, Albert Einstein and Thomas Edison, so I've heard, took naps throughout the day all their lives and no one was bothered. People, in fact, just considered it a part of their being geniuses. Being 70 also gives me more perspective. I've learned not to sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff. Time is very precious. It's too often wasted on hate, bitterness, holding grudges, or being unforgiving and vindictive. Now that I've lived long enough to discern what is noble and what is not, I have recommitted myself to doing more good and also encouraging others to do more with their opportunities. I am convinced that doing good will keep my heart and mind strong and vibrant. I do not know what the rest of my life will bring, but I am setting goals and I'm planning for it to be a great adventure. I look forward to this new season of life, making the rest the best. I'm convinced right now that life begins at 70. Of course, when I ask my older friends, they insist that life begins at 80. I wonder if it really begins at 90. I'll let you know when I get there. And that was a story from Paul Meyer. And I think I have time for one more short story. It's called Love is a Grandparent. It starts with a quote from Irma Bombeck. If I'd known grandchildren were going to be so much fun, I'd have had them first. A preschooler who lives down the street was curious about grandparents. It occurred to me that, to a child, grandparents appear like an apparition with no explanation, no job description, and very few credentials. They just seem to go with the territory. This, then, is for the little folks who wonder what a grandparent is. A grandparent can always be counted on to buy all your cookies, flower seeds, all-purpose greeting cards, transparent tape, paring knives, peanut brittle, and 10 chances on a pony. Also a box of taffy when they have dentures. A grandparent helps you with the dishes when it is your night. A grandparent will sit through a Greek comedy for 3 hours to watch her grandson and wonder how Aristophanes had time to write plays when he is married to Jackie Onassis. A grandparent is the only babysitter who doesn't charge more after midnight or anything before midnight. A grandparent buys you gifts your mother says you don't need. A grandparent arrives 3 hours early for your baptism, your graduation, and your wedding because he or she wants a seat where he or she can see everything. A grandparent pretends he doesn't know who you are on Halloween. A grandparent loves you from when you're a bald baby to a bald father and all the hair in between. A grandparent will put a sweater on you when she is cold, feed you when she is hungry, and put you to bed when she is tired. A grandparent will brag about you when you get a typing pen that 80 other girls got. A grandparent will frame a picture of your hand that you traced and put it in her Mediterranean living room. A grandparent will slip you money just before Mother's Day. A grandparent will help you with your buttons, your zippers, and your shoelaces and not be in any hurry for you to grow up. When you're a baby, a grandparent will check to see if you are crying when you are sound asleep. When a child says, "Grandma, how come you didn't have any children?" a grandparent holds back the tears. And that was submitted by Tonette Holly, and everything that I read was quoted by Irma Bombeck. Thank you for listening. That's the end of our stories, and have a good day.